105th meeting of the First Board of County Commissioners to order at this time and recognize that we do have a quorum present. And I'll lead us in an invocation. If you so desire, pray with me, after which Commissioner Sims will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you pray together? Merciful Almighty God, we come before you tonight with grateful hearts for the opportunity of being here. We thank you for our young men and women who continue to fight for our rights of freedom, the rights to gather, the right to make decisions in our country here tonight. It is a privilege, and we thank you. Lead, guide, and direct our thoughts that they might be in your will and in your right way. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
If you will, stand if you can and salute our flag. Recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me, if you will.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda is discussion, adjustment, or approval of the agenda as presented. Any discussion, adjustment? Or do we have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve agenda.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carried. Item number 1 on the agenda is County Manager's fiscal year 2023-2024 recommended budget. Need a motion at this time to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Have a motion to open the public hearing at this time. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carried. So we're going to have comments tonight, and with the number that have signed up to speak, we will have a 3-minute limit per person, and that should be displayed on the screen behind us, I believe. If you'll get that up and running. So Madam Clerk, do we have speakers speaking in favor of the budget?
Yes, sir, we do. We do have 4 individuals, and once the time is displayed, we'll call the first person up.
Okay.
All right, our first speaker is Mr. Brandon Fox of Poplar Lane, Roxborough.
Evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
10 years ago, I fought tooth and nail to get a job at Person County EMS, where we were known statewide as a die or retire agency and where vacancies were rarely open. My, how times have changed. Now, 10 years later, the agency that I had plans to retire from has placed my family into a financial bind that is causing me and others like me to look elsewhere for employment. We have not had a paramedic apply to our agency in over a year. As people keep leaving, there is no one to backfill these spots. The reason is that we are 50% underpaid compared to the counties around us. Who in their right mind would go through 2 years of specialized schooling and 500 hours of clinical training time, only to apply to our county to make $10 an hour less than everywhere else? The paramedic market is wide open. There are vacancies in every county, and people are following the money. Today, I am the 4th most senior employee in the entire department of 44 employees. Countless more folks have came and went during my tenure. As of today, we have 10 full-time vacancies in EMS alone, and I just found out last week that an experienced provider and field training officer turned in her 2-week notice to go work elsewhere for more pay. The new job will be at least an hour drive for her each way and less appealing hours, but as they say, money talks. As a result of these people leaving, we now have multiple employees working 72-hour shifts and outrageous amounts of overtime for months on end. There is a never-ending need of daily vacancies currently filled by tired people. Our problem does not lie in our EMS administrators. They can only do so much with what the budget provides. The problem falls inside of these commissioner chambers. As a county commissioner elected by the citizens, it is your primary job to make sure the health and safety of the county's citizens and visitors is taken care of. How do you think a proposed megasite investor will feel knowing that essential 911 services are underfunded? As commissioners, you have magic ink pens. A stroke of your pen can change the course of our county's EMS agency. fix our EMS salaries, fix our pay compression. Now that you know about the problem, it cannot be ignored. Find the money somewhere. You know what will happen if you raise taxes? People will fuss, moan, and gripe, and talk about government waste. Then they will pay their taxes anyway. They don't have a choice. As one of those taxpayers, I don't have a choice. As a 9th generation Personian myself, I'm humbly asking that you pay our local heroes a living and competitive wage.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, our next speaker is Mr. Eric Kaplan of 504 Ridge Road, Roxborough.
Good evening, Commission. Thank you for your time this
Afternoon.
afternoon. My name's Eric Kaplan. I'm the COO at Person Memorial Hospital. I'm here speaking on behalf of the hospital and our medical personnel at the facility. I've had the pleasure and fortunate time to spend with our EMS partners. I've gone on a ride along, spent some time at the office and meet our team that we have here, and we're very fortunate to have some very skilled EMS and emergency partners here, and proud to have those folks in our county serving our citizens here, and want to continue to sustain that going forward. So obviously very close partners with our EMS and their service for our community. Their ability to be able to respond timely for patients directly impacts our ability to treat patients, and then also when we have to transfer patients out to get immediate care needs, that's obviously facilitated with our care partners too. Being in healthcare, the industry's kind of seeing unprecedented times. I know we're seeing it in the hospital. They're seeing it in our EMS and responders as well. So how are we going to adjust to meet that demand? It's a challenge, going to continue to be a challenge. And as our previous speaker said, folks are going to where those resources are. So again, want to speak on behalf of the hospital and support that. And without having these vital services to continue going forward, that will impact, unfortunately, the quality outcomes for our patients. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, our next speaker is Mr. Dan Phillips, Dr. Phillips of Shady Oak Road in Roxborough.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. I'm Dan Phillips from Shady Oak Road. I'm here this evening to address what I think is a critical situation in emergency medical services that can affect all of us, particularly those of advancing age, and several of us are here. Our local EMS system and 911 center are having difficulty recruiting and retaining qualified staff. There's multiple factors involved, as there always are, but significant issues in our system involve salary and its impact on work conditions. I was once a paramedic. I know that paramedics change jobs for more money and better work conditions, like time off. They change for quality equipment they work with and the type of calls and volume of calls that they answer. A couple dollars an hour doesn't sound like much, but it's a lot to someone who's making $44,000 a year. We've lost experienced medics to other counties, to private industry. They've left the career because of work conditions. It's critical that we compete with surrounding counties in this environment. Retention of experienced medics is absolutely critical. Experience in all the medical arts increases the quality of care and reduces errors. And experience comes with time on the job and continuous education. In rural counties such as ours, medics have to be able to manage critical cases for longer periods of time, as we don't have a hospital in every corner. We don't have advanced medical care available as we do in the city. But our medics here have to be better than those actually in the city. Thus, knowledge and experience are key to a greater degree out here than it is in the city. A lot of our staffing is being done by overtime, and overtime is a two-edged sword. It gives extra income to the employee and provides needed coverage, but it's expensive for the counties, I'm sure all of you guys know. But it also can lead to decreased quality of life for the employee. More importantly, excessive overtime can lead to fatigue and burnout. Fatigue can and does result in medical errors. That's proven. We've got medics working 48 and 72-hour shifts. Quite frankly, 72-hour shifts unacceptable. It can't happen in medicine these days. Why would they not change jobs if they could make similar income and work less hours? As staffing gets short and units are not available, response times go up. So it's one thing if response times are up during disaster or a very busy time, but last year 341 of our calls there was no advanced life support unit available. Outside of the city of Roxborough, first responders may or may not be available. So as I wrap up, I urge you to look critically at the budget and current situation of EMS and do all you can to make us competitive within the region, preventing further loss of staff and deterioration of services. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And our next speaker is Ms. Cynthia Lynch of Union Grove Church Road in Harold Mills.
Good evening.
Good
I just want to
evening.
make sure we're talking about the budget right now. Am I in the right spot? Okay. Because I heard a number of speakers talking about the concern for salaries, and I do see on your agenda that you're looking at a classification and pay study. So hopefully, as part of that, you will be addressing those issues. What I did come to talk to you more specifically about was I have a concern for safety. I came to the country, and I was hoping to feel safe. And sometimes I don't feel so safe. I hear things on the radio. I see things on Facebook or in the newspaper where people have been shot, people have been accosted, and it concerns me. I look at the budget, and I added up public safety and human services and education and culture and recreation, all things that should help what's going on and help people to live a positive life, not feel they need to attack people, help with their interpersonal relationships. All these things should help with that. That's like 67.5% of your budget. So I would just ask you, please, we've got some great county employees. I know they do their best. What can we do to get all these good, hardworking folks working together, finding a solution so that we can all feel safe? This is a beautiful place. We shouldn't have these kind of concerns. There's got to be an answer. So I'd appreciate if you would please help these people to work together and get that answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, there's,
And at this time, we'll move to those in opposition to the recommended budget by the county manager. And the first speaker is Liz Bratcher of Estate Road, Samora.
I'm not so much as in opposition as I want to make a commentary, hope you don't mind. Duke provides close to 20% of our budgeted tax revenues. Actually, it's 20+%. The budget summary disclosed that plant closures will take place within the next 12 years, and we all know that that's going to probably be sooner than that. Decommissioning is already taking place with a reduction in the workforce. There has been no real communication to the public on this matter. The brief narrative provided in the budget summary does not address what will happen. Instead, it provides a vague, very vague commentary. Jobs will not be maintained with the battery storage type scenario. Nuclear could increase employment and economic activity within a community like ours. According to the Office of Nuclear Energy, when a large coal plant is replaced by a nuclear power plant or an equivalent of such, the study found that jobs in the region could increase by more than 650 permanent positions. Based upon this report, long-term job impacts could lead to additional annual economic activity of $275 million, implying an increase of 92% tax revenue for just a local county. The Assistant Secretary for Nuclear Energy, Dr. Catherine Hupp, stated, "This is an important opportunity to help communities around the country preserve jobs that are needed here in Person County. An increase in tax revenue will take place and improve air quality as well. We have two coal plants in our midst. No other county in the U.S. has 2 coal plants. The county deserves transparency, and so does the public, and the county deserves transparency on this matter. Town halls are a good first step by this BOC and Duke Energy, and a community task force is warranted. Letters to residents addressing the matter is also needed. We have communities not only within the county wanting knowledge, but those living on Hyco and Mayo. We want knowledge on this issue. The budget summary is a poor example of transparency and information, and the county and Duke Energy need to do better. In addition, last week the Senate passed the budget bill, which includes the funding to complete the Mountain Valley gas line. The pipeline can eventually connect to Hyco or Mayo, but additional funding would be needed on that. So there's another scenario that could be played out as well. If we did get nuclear energy and you had a timeline, you could very well answer the questions and the needs here that people are talking about, which include increased compensation and also perhaps a new school for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our last speaker will be former Commissioner P.J. Gentry of Bird Creek Lane, Her Mills.
Commissioners,
Good
it
evening.
is
How are
really
you?
nice to be on this side. All right, for you guys. I'm not here in opposition of the budget either. I'm here mostly on commentary. On the bright side, there's a lot more revenue than when I was here, and that's a result. Can you hear me, Charlie?
Yeah.
Can you? Okay.
Yeah, I
you're-
got you. Yeah, I got you.
I'll speak up. A result of the increase in property values, and so Person County got a big kick. The kick also is it's cut into by the inflation and the wage problem. We have stagnant wages. Person County has not been able to keep up. So it appears like we're plugging some holes in the boat and we're going to float along, but I don't see any great growth and improvement opportunities in this budget. I feel like we're just still paddling water, especially when it comes to schools. And this is something that bothers me for years. The Board of Commissioners, and I'm talking about decades, the Board of Commissioners have kicked down the closing, combining, and building of new schools forever. For several years now, even the Board of Commissioners and the Board of Education haven't even met to discuss things. And we're spending less on education than we spend on social services, all the while by placating people saying, what can we do, we don't have enough money. It makes no sense to spend $38 million to put a Band-Aid on our schools. We need and should be combining, closing, and building new facilities. And seriously, looking at building new facilities, selling off the land and the assets of the old ones. It's been talked about, it's been shown to be probably the most effective, but we have to stop worrying about the next election and hurting people's feelings and doing the right thing for Person County. Everybody loves their small community schools, we understand that, but the realities are we need to do something big and bold. The other thing that really bothered me was Thursday, the State Board of Education came out with 20 of the low-wealth school districts that could be penalized up to $37 million due to the difference in interpretation of how to use state funds to boost teacher pay. Person County is one of those. And right now, the state and the House budget are siding with the DPI. So I don't know how this is going to affect Person County with the funds that we have received, but that is something to really consider. I would hope that this Republican Board of Commissioners, these guys here that stand on conservative fiscal principles and growth, would stop worrying about the re-election, try to make everyone happy, and take some big, bold, decisive actions to do some things. Because we can't just keep treading water and coming into this problem every single budget season. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That
That
concludes the speakers
concludes.
for the public hearing.
Okay, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
A motion to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, motion carried. At this time in our meeting, we do have 10 minutes set aside for public comment from those in the public. If you'd like to come forward, some of you, and make comments related to your concerns about the county. We do have three speakers. We'll do 3 minutes with each of you guys, and just as we did previously. And who would be your first speaker then?
Our first speaker is Mr. Jim Brooks of Estate Road, Samora.
Thank you, appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
You fine folks this evening. I represent residents on Hyco Lake, as well as a committee that's composed of residents as well as HOA organizations around the lake. Some of you guys remember me from past meetings. And I'm just here really to kind of spock in and just keep awareness on the fact that we have concerns. Our committee is concerned with the integrity, the changing demographics, and overall boating safety in regards to the Peninsula project that's evolving on Hyco Lake. And certainly, I know Chairman Powell has referred me to zoning and planning, you know, as this project unfolds. And I've had a good communication established with Chris Boley at zoning and planning, as well as representatives from Duke Power, and of course our friends at the Lake Authority as well on this particular subject. And even though the project stopped late last summer after they did a substantial amount of clearing and put the road in, work on the site has begun again, and they're putting in a service road, which appears to be the service road to the wastewater treatment plant on the site off of Jeff Road. And I'm here today really to just bring awareness again to the Board of Commissioners and ask that as this project unfolds and with work on the site resuming again, and the fact that the casino is open in Danville at this point in time, I'm quite certain the developer is going to appear in this building with you and with zoning and planning in the near future. And it's just really important to all these citizens and residents, specifically on Hyco Lake, that, you know, that a comprehensive platform is established for providing information openly and freely, that all the communication is transparent. There's a lot of pieces on the table I've emphasized to every stakeholder in this project development, that decisions should not be made in vacuums or silos, that everybody has to understand decisions being made by each municipal body. You gotta look at the project as a whole. And we're just very concerned about the impact, if it's not structured correctly, the impact it's gonna have on voting safety and liability for both the county, North Carolina Wildlife, as well as Duke Power. And so I just wanted to take a few minutes to address it with the Board of Commissioners. I appreciate your time. And again, the emphasis is on making sure that there's good, comprehensive, open communication to the community as this project evolves. And like I said, I'm quite certain we're right on the brink of it coming out of the shadows and in the open. And it's really important that all stakeholders, as well as the citizens, have a good discussion on it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, our next speaker is Catherine Lawrence of Terry Road, Hurdle Mills. Oh, thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm Kathy
afternoon.
Lawrence. I'm the Vice Chair of the local Person County Republican Party. And I'm here to ask for your specific specific support for serious consideration, does that work? And even a vote for endorsement on an important resolution concerning the Person County Board of Education candidates in future elections. Specifically, the Person County Republican Party voted to successfully adopt the resolution entitled, quote, "Resolution supporting the identification of party affiliation for Board of Education candidates in Person County," back in March of 2023. We did so, and we expect, as Republican commissioners, that you would also accept this resolution, because we, as the local party leadership, expect that you will also want to help identify and adopt this resolution, so that we would, it would be an aid for identifying and aligning candidates that have Republican values. Doing so helps to identify the candidates in general for the public at large, and that those that have specifically liberal ideology, including pornographic literature and indoctrination movements in our schools against our children, we think the public deserves to know these positions. So that resolution specifically says, whereas members of the Person County Board of Education are elected in nonpartisan elections, and Person County Board of Education members are not elected purely by district, but rather run at large in primaries and countywide and general elections, and whereas identification of candidates' party affiliation will provide voters with more information about the positions and policies of the candidate's support, and whereas 30 and more now school districts in North Carolina have already currently elected their Board of Education members in partisan races. So, therefore, be it resolved that Person County GOP requests that its membership will support, as well as we're asking the commissioners here, all being also Republican, that the party affiliation of candidates for Person County Board of Education be identified, and be further resolved that members of the Person County Board of Education shall be at large, and that this support and decision be communicated to the North Carolina State GOP and County Board of Commissioners, which we're doing now, for their affirmation and supportive action respectively. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our last speaker for this comment period is Ms. Cynthia Lynch of Union Grove Church Road, Earl Mills.
Good evening again.
Good evening again. Yes, that's what I was going to say. I came to speak to you about Person Industries. I saw they had a request on the agenda for fund balance. I spoke to you about them before. I enjoy recycling, and I missed having the folks come out and help us with recycling. And I noticed recently they had a problem with some contaminants getting into some of the recycling materials. Fortunately, I did have the opportunity when I came in to be introduced to Ms. Everett. We got a chance to speak, and I was happy to hear that she is hopeful that we can get some of those folks back out helping. So I hope that's going to be the case. I think it's a really nice program, and I'm just hoping that some of their problems will be alleviated when they get some folks out to help guide people as to what's appropriate to recycle and what isn't. So I'm just speaking basically in support of that request. They've had a rough year, and hopefully this transfer will help them to keep going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that
That
conclude your
concludes.
list?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, item number 2 on our agenda is motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Have a motion on the floor for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None, motion carried. Item number 3, new business, classification and pay study update, and personnel policy revisions. Ms. Sonia Carter.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so I wanted to come to you tonight and bring you an update on our pay study. Wanted to kind of recap a little bit about our journey. Some of the commitments that we had going into this pay study, of course, the top one was to retain and attract well-qualified staff. Secondly, we wanted to be employer of choice. We want Person County local government to be where employees want to come and be satisfied at their work environment. And we believe this is the first step of getting our pay schedule in line, and then start tackling other things that will proceed after this. Transparency to the employees and the public. That was very important to the HR staff, because in the past we have not always had that. And we wanted to be sure that along the way we have been as transparent to our employees and the public. Administer pay in a way that is fair, and this is so very important. When we look across our pay classification, we want to be sure that in those pay ranges we have alike positions. We look at the duties, we look at the experience, we look at the classifications. So we want to be fair that we are applying the same thing across the board to every department and every position. And then equally important is improvement over past studies. Marianne and I, our HR risk manager, we have been around through 3 pay studies now. We have heard the backside of the problems. And we are hoping that this one is a much better approach to how we're implementing it, and the employees will be much more satisfied with the results. So this just shows a little bit of a timeline for us. We began this journey, and it seems like it's been 2 years, but it's only been since October we started this journey. We contracted with MAG, who's Management Advisory Group. During the initial process, we had a lot of meetings with MAG to figure out how we wanted to implement it, to talk about past issues we have and current issues that we've had.
November through January, we were able to start the process with our position classifications with our employees. It's very important that we heard from the employees what they did in their day-to-day positions. We were able to talk about the pay and the positions. Beginning February, we began to start analyzing the information that the employees supplied us. Also, the information that MAG went out to the market and brought back to us with the other counties and some of the private sectors that they polled to get surveys. So March brought about where we were able to establish a new minimum, midpoint, and maximum. We did a 7.2% inflationary adjustment that was recommended by MAG. And we took in consideration with that 3 different indexes. And we used the economic cost index at the time, consumer price index, and also Social Security. The criteria that we needed to consider for a successful pay study was obviously financial affordability. We can go as big as we want to go, but we also have to be sure we're stewards of the citizens' money and making sure that we can afford this pay study. We wanted to hear the voice of our employees, where they had the opportunity to provide in their job questionnaires what exactly they did on a day-to-day basis. The department heads had the opportunities to review our pay structure and pay ranges. They helped us critique and making sure the alignment of the positions looked accurate and complete. Relevant to labor market, we went out to the market. We went to 15 organizations, public and private, to find out what they were paying like positions like we have. Not all positions we found were behind in the market, which is great. They have been paid up to market and where they should have been paid. Internal relationships of job classifications, as I spoke earlier, we want to be sure that the ones that we have aligned together make sense, that they are compatible. Inflation, we talked about that. We want to be sure moving forward that we have a good inflation on our job market. We are seeing in the market that a lot of other counties are proposing COLAs like we just had on 7/1. So we are hoping that our 7.2% inflation on our pay ranges is going to leave us in a good standing. And of course, sustainability. So implementation. This is where we're going to look at the calculations of each pay, and we're looking at it moving forward. I want to be sure that you are aware we're not looking back at how current salaries came about. We're looking at current salary and how they compare to the market. There may be isolated incidences where we may see, once we share up the department heads, there may be some inequities that we may need to address on a one-on-one basis. And the transition to the new plan is not meant to address every pay decision, promotion, demotion that has occurred over the tenure of the employee. So the calculation is the big, everybody wants to know how we're calculating it. I do want to start by saying MAG has supplied us a classification manager software, which is really good. We've been able to go in and then update people's pay, which is a revolving door. It is a moving target to keep everybody updated with their positions, their merits, and everything going on in the pay. What we're proposing, in short, is to ensure people are at first at minimum of their new grade. If they're changing grades, we want to make sure they're at minimum. And then we want to put in equity of what they currently have in their current pay position in the new one. But we are going to be capping it at 50%. And what this does is it kind of preserves some of the merits our employees have received, some of their previous pay studies, promotions, things of that nature. The calculation is not based on hire date or time and position, which it has been in the past. That has not been a successful implementation for our county. So this slide kind of shows you what 3 different employees look like with their current pay, proposed increase, and what the proposed pay will be. We also have shown you the current grade as well as the new grade that we're going to be implementing these in. And you can see the ranges. There's no everybody's at 2,000 or everybody's at 3,000. It just depends on how they came into the market and how far they were in equity in their current grade. So the next steps of our pay study. Upon approval of the budget on June 19th, we plan to start sharing the proposed employee pay to the department heads to start reviewing on June 20th. We want to hear feedback from the department heads as to if we have done a good job or if they detect any kind of problems that we need to consider that we may should change. We are expecting department heads to be able to submit recommendations back to HR no later than June 26th, and then we'll do final distribution of numbers to share on June 29th with our employees. And it's going to be effective on the timesheet period June 30th through July 13th for a check date of July 26th. Okay, any questions?
Just one.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, if I could ask
Go
a
ahead.
question.
Yes, sir,
Thank you.
please.
I guess my question is the department heads, is there gonna be some type of training session so that they can explain to their employees why their pay scale is this? And, cause I think that's very important, cause they need to know how to explain it, cause if you go and you don't know how to explain it, it's not gonna look good.
Absolutely, and we learned that lesson the hard way a few years ago. That's why we wanted this to be transparent. So in your agenda packet, we did give you the long version of how the formula calculates. And if you follow those guidelines, if it says, minimum pay, whatever, you fill in under those titles, you will come down to exactly what the increase is. But we will be happy to sit down with department heads and explain to them, and also explain to the employees if they have any questions or concerns. We are open to doing that.
Anyone else?
What was the time frame that you gave the department heads to turn in their results from their employees?
Let's see. It was June 26th.
June 26th.
Yep. So they'll, June 26th, yes, sir.
So it gives them,
We're gonna release it to them on June 20th, and then they'll have until June 26th. And that's not a hard deadline, but we do wanna be sure we have the timing in for payroll to be able to process correctly. So we are working with a window of time to be able to get changes back to us and to get them approved.
So, do the department heads have the opportunity, let's say they're not happy with what their employee is getting and think they may need more, will they have that opportunity to have that conversation with someone, or how does that go, how does that work?
Absolutely, that is why we're giving them a timeframe to review their pay. I wanna hear feedback, and of course, the county manager will be a part of that. But we want to hear whatever concerns that our departments have. This is their employees, we have tried really hard to have them a part of our process this time. Yes. But we, at the same time, I do wanna say, we want to be fair and consistent with how we're applying this.
Anyone else? I would say thank you, but with years' worth of time invested in it, I don't know if that's sufficient or not. I've always said our employees is what makes everything go. This board can say and do what they want, but it comes down, rubber meets the road with the employees. Each and every one is important. Every job is important, otherwise we don't need them.
Right.
And we do need all of those that are on board. And I saw the emails, the correspondence, and the meetings that you people were having, the agony that you were going through. I could read that on your face. Didn't have to be in print. So it's been stressful. It's been thorough. Is it perfect? I say probably not. But that's where your next meetings with those department heads are going to come into play, and the next steps. Again, it's not going to be perfect, even though you had a formula there to get to the final number. I think Einstein would have been proud of. That was
Well,
a
Mag
whole
developed it.
page.
Yeah, and
of-
I give compliments to Mariana, she cracked it, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, an awful lot went into it, and I commend you for that, and thank you for bringing this report, and I fully, totally encourage you to move forward with those next steps and to make sure, as much as possible, our employees do understand where they stand and where things go from here.
Absolutely. So would y'all like to talk about our policy revisions?
I'd love to hear it.
Okay, all right, wait till the slide gets put back up. I am excited about these as well. We'll be coming back in the future with more updates to our personnel policy. Right. So what I did was just try to kind of summarize. In your agenda packet, it has the very detailed things that we're looking at changing. The first one is under Article 2. The old policy stated something along the lines that any employee could come and get a copy of our pay classification from Human Resources, which is still okay, but we are proposing to put it on our county website. That way it shows transparency. It also has the employees where they can have access to it at any time, as well as the public. And it helps too with candidates that are looking for positions. They can also take a look at our pay schedule on the website. Article 3, for the pay plan, we had a lot of updates on this. The first one we are finding is beneficial. We are asking to remove not to exceed 10%, where the county manager has to approve in-range adjustments. We do not have many of these at all, but with limited to 10% on the average, it is only 4,000 to 5,000 in the range, because most of that's what 10% of the majority of our employees are making. It will help us to be able to have the department head come to me with the recommendation if they fall under any of these categories, and then I can go to the county manager to make a recommendation from her. So we have checks and balances in place to be sure that there's a good recommendation going to the county manager. Probationary increases, we just need to remove this because we no longer have a hiring rate on our pay schedule. This was taken off during our last pay study. Education and certification increase, this was a standalone policy that was implemented in 2009, so you can see the need of updating that. And we would like to make it a part of our personnel policy moving forward so our employees have easier access. Basically what this does is give our employees a 1.5% pay increase up to 2 times fiscal year if they achieve an education, degree, or certification increase that is over and beyond what is required of their job position. And we have also added more guidance into how this comes to play so employees have more guidelines as to how they will qualify for that. So promotions, our old policy said 5% or 2 minimum, whichever is greater. What we're proposing, and MAG has also proposed this as well to us, is to apply 5% to the previous salary for promotions of 1 pay grade. Then we can apply an additional 2.5% for each additional pay grade up to a maximum of 15. This will be very, very beneficial as well for promoting. A lot of times people have been here for so long, they ended up only getting 5%, but taking on a ton of more job duties. The next one, demotion or voluntary reassignment. We are asking to add voluntary reassignment. Demotion is really harsh when it's not really considered for a disciplinary reason. It could be the employee just, the responsibility on the level they're in, they're asking to move down positions in grade. So we would like to start calling that a voluntary reassignment. Reclassifications work the same way as promotions. Same thing, it currently is 5% or minimum. So we're asking to do still the 5% and then the additional 2.5% for each pay grade and maxing it at 15%. So for these salary effective ranges, we're just updating this part to kind of implement on pay studies what we're currently doing for this pay study. Because it's talking about implementation process, it's equity of the old grade. So that's how we're moving forward with the implementation of our current pay study. Section 11, temporary and permanent additional job duties. This is new. We've kind of had an unwritten guideline that employees that maybe took on temporary or permanent job duties would get up to a 5% increase depending upon the complexity of the job duties. So we're asking to maybe define that a little better for our employees, and also to have the option to actually look at that position and regrade it if it so desires need to be regraded for the additional job duties. Section 13, this is more or less interim duties. If we have a position available, maybe a director position's vacant and we have an assistant director that needs to stand in, we want to compensate them for doing the extra job duties if it is going to extend longer than 30 days. The old policy stated minimum of higher grade or a 10% increase. So we're kind of doing the same thing we did with the classifications and promotions with how we give them their pay increase. I know it was kind of quick, but do you have any questions that I can answer for you? A lot of information in that.
Anyone?
Okay,
Sounds like you did a good job.
thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Okay, that's a lot of information you to consider as we move to the work session that's coming up. But thank you all for what you did to get us to this point. Item number 4 on the agenda is fiscal year 23 funding request for purchase of new ambulance. Mr. Swallenberg.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
So this agenda item is for the Department of Emergency Services is requesting fiscal year 23 fund balance appropriation in the amount of $433,000 to purchase and equip a new ambulance for the Division of Emergency Medical Services. This ambulance would replace an ambulance that is at the end of its service life in terms of both mileage and increasing maintenance costs. By utilizing fiscal year 23 funds, we can take advantage of purchasing before 2024 chassis model price increases that will go into effect, and we can order ahead of other EMS agencies that will be placing orders in the new fiscal year after July 1. The turnaround time on manufacturing of an ambulance currently is about 12 to 18 months. So the sooner we can get this order placed, particularly if we can get ahead of other agencies, the sooner we can get this ambulance turned around. The current state of our ambulance fleet is extremely challenging. Currently, we have 6 ambulances assigned to our fleet. The county sort of standard is we should be rotating vehicles after they reach 100,000 miles. Currently, 4 of our 6 ambulances are over 100,000 miles. One of those is over 200,000 miles. The sheriff's office has a policy that over 100,000 miles they turn their vehicles over because they're not safe for pursuit, but yet our vehicles are running emergency traffic up and down the roads, and most of them are well over 100,000 miles. Our 5th ambulance is, as of today, sitting at 92,000 miles. That's where our 5th ambulance is sitting at. So it's important that we get these ambulances and turned over as soon as we can. Since January 1st of 2023, we have had to borrow a truck from a neighboring jurisdiction 41 days due to being down to less than 3 serviceable trucks being available out of a fleet of 6. Within the last year, we have had 2 ambulances involved in significant accidents. 1 truck was totaled. The other truck has been in the repair shop for over 3 months. It is important to note that neither of these accidents were the fault of our crews. This year, we have already spent over our entire vehicle maintenance budget for the year due to fleet issues and rising maintenance costs. This year, we have 1 vehicle that has been out of service for a total of almost 8 months, on and off for electrical issues, to include an electrical fire in one of the cabinets. This vehicle has been to 4 different repair shops to fix the electrical problems. Currently, that truck is sitting in Greensboro waiting to get looked at. This is not like taking your car to the repair shop. They're very complicated machines. Every single one of our ambulances, quite honestly, needs to be pulled offline for service and maintenance, and quite honestly, we just don't have the vehicles to do it, so we just keep running them the best that we can. In your fiscal 24 manager's recommended budget, there is a budget item in there for $585,000 to purchase a new ambulance. That estimate in the fiscal year '24 budget was based on a purchase that we recently made, and by recently, I mean March of 2022, for a demo ambulance, because that was what was available on the market. We still do not have that ambulance. We're still waiting for that. Demo ambulance, the reason that that price point was much higher was because it was a demo ambulance. We basically had to buy what it was, and then we have to add a bunch of aftermarket stuff to that ambulance once we get that ambulance in. So the price point for this ambulance is lower. That's why it's coming in at $443,000. We have an opportunity on the June 7th budget work session for you guys to consider purchasing a second new ambulance at that lower price point in fiscal year '24. But again, that can be a discussion on the June 7th work session. So the recommended action, or what we're asking for tonight, is for the board to approve a fund balance appropriation of $433,000 from general fund to allow the Department of Emergency Services to place an order for a new ambulance and related vehicle emergency equipment. And I'll take any questions.
Thank you, board members. Well, I will say I'm in full support of your request, and I think it's wise to move forward with that purchase in this calendar year, or fiscal year rather, and move forward and take advantage of the opportunity. I don't know about the rest of your board members.
I think we should do that, what you just mentioned, because I'm looking at, we're looking at 12 to 18 months before we ever see that ambulance, if we can replace the order right now. So, and with the condition that our ambulances are in, I think we need to go ahead and approve the fund balance appropriation of $433,000.
Other comments? Anybody?
Total agreement.
Is that a motion?
We'll take,
That's a
yeah,
motion.
So we do have a motion on the floor. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None, motion carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Item number 5 on the agenda is Person Industries' request for fiscal year '23 fund balance appropriation. Ms. Everett.
Good evening, Board of
Good evening.
Commissioners. How are you? I have a presentation as soon as it comes up. I am here tonight to request a fund balance appropriation of $80,000 from the general fund for Person Industries for fiscal year '23. This request is to ensure that the Person Industries MRF fund does not end the year in a deficit. Our revenues for this current year were affected by the expansion of the public health emergency, resulting in non-consumers not returning to services as planned when budget numbers were presented in February of 2022, with a loss of over $158,000 in revenue. We also had a reduction in our production work through our sales contract with Eaton Corporation due to cuts and moving some production items to different countries. As you can see on this next slide, we also had some very high repair and replacement expenditures due to age, wear, and tear of current equipment, machinery, and vehicles. $15,000 for our baler. Our vehicles are aged and wear and tear, but we do not have emergency responses on those vehicles. We just run them around town, so I try to make sure that I keep those as long as we can so that we don't put that kind of hold on anything else that's needed from around the county. In being modest with our foreseen revenues and very careful with our expenditures for the remainder of the year, you can see here that our worst case scenario would be that we would have a deficit of $70,000. The $80,000 is a cushion just in case anything unexpected were to come up. The financial health of the Person Industries and MRF fund has rarely been in question ever since the acquisition by Person County government in 2005. Within those 18 years, all but 3 have seen additions to our fund balance, as well as we have maintained a surplus, all while sporadically cutting county allocations between our years of service. Our healthy budget was hit hard during the pandemic due to restrictions that were placed on our services. We are confident that budget strength will trend upward with the expiration of the public health emergency, as will our MRF upgrade and our PI merger.
Oh.
No, that is
That's
all
it.
I have for
That's
you,
it.
yes.
Okay. Board member comments, questions?
Chairman Powell.
Yes, sir, please.
Amanda, has any of the former employees even tried to come back to work?
They were not able to. The public health emergency allowed their caretakers or their guardians to be able to receive additional funds and be able to provide those services to them at home. So instead of them being sent or being not allowed, but just instead of them being sent to Person Industries to receive those services, those in-home services were still able to be provided. They usually cannot bill for both of those services at the same time, but that the public health emergency allowed them to do that. Now that that has ended, because of the public health emergency, we had to hold those positions. We could not fill them or replace them. Now that the public health emergency has ended, we are able to say, okay, are you returning? Or we can now go with Via and Alliance, who provides our services, and see if there's people on the wait list. We already have confirmation that 6 of those consumers will be returning.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Questions? Now, this request has been run through, finance,
Yes, it has.
so we're clear. Okay. All right, no other questions. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion, Chairman Powell.
Yes, sir. Have a motion for approval? Is that,
Yes,
yes, okay.
yes,
A motion to
sorry.
approve. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Commissioners.
Appreciate all you do there. Okay, just briefly going along with Chairman's report, just a couple of things. I'd like to say that with pride that we just recently signed the lease agreement with, for the lease of the airport hangar. And to my knowledge, airplane or airplanes will probably be coming this week. So that's a good thing for Person County, I believe. And I also like to commend Ray Fashee and Bill Tugas. Those were the 2 point men in this whole deal, and you were the folks that communicated very, very frequently and effectively with Lisi, and thank you for doing that. Appreciate that very much. So I think that's going to be a big step moving forward in some new and exciting things at Person County's airport now. It's Raleigh Regional Airport at Person County. So I think it's going to open doors and opportunities there for some additional hangars and maybe some public-private investments there, so I'm looking forward to that. Another Duke Energy update was held Zoom, and most of what they talked about was so technical, I'll have to admit to you, it was above my head. But they do have a definite plan in place for plant closures, and we keep emphasizing to them with whatever new technologies are available coming down the pike, so to speak. Person County will be that point for not only Duke Carolinas, but in specific Person County. We want it to happen here, and we keep re-emphasizing that with them, and they keep communicating with us, and I feel very good about that prospect. We do not know. It's not our choice. It's their choice. And what we're emphasizing there is that we want you here. Person County needs you here. And we want to continue that good relationship we've enjoyed there for 6 decades. So, and downstairs, the auditorium renovation is underway and taking place as we speak. It's an ongoing project, so it's taking shape, and things are moving forward there very well. Manager Kathy?
It's my pleasure to introduce our new Public Information Officer, Kim Strickland. She's here with us tonight. You're in the back. Wave, everybody. Yay. She started with us last Tuesday, so we're very happy to have her on our team and looking forward to working together in an effort to share more information with the public and to provide avenues for more public engagement. So she's very experienced within this realm, working in a couple of other North Carolina municipalities. So we are very pleased to have her skill set and her expertise with us. The opioid settlement,
No, PJ and us, and when she was here, we talked about that position. So it took a while, but here we are. I'm
Yes.
sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. The Opioid Settlement Advisory Committee has been meeting on a monthly basis. They have scheduled their annual meeting, which, according to our memorandum of agreement with the state, we have on a fiscal year basis for June 30th from 9 to 10:30 in the FEMA room. So we'll be getting some more information about that out. We do have representatives on that committee, county and city representatives, as well as citizen participation, and this meeting is open to all residents, city, county, who may like to attend. We have staff and committee members who are going to a summit this week that's hosted by the NCACC, so we will be continuing to evaluate the needs within the county and options for utilizing those funds effectively. So that meeting is on the calendar, June 30th. And then I just also wanted to check in with the board about the work session agenda. I had shared a draft with you on Friday, so please let me know if there's any other items that you would like to add to that for discussion at the budget work session Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. in this room.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sims?
Yeah, I just want to, a couple things. One, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I appreciate everyone giving their comments, their public comments, and I know that we will take that to heart. We will see what we can do, and I know there's a lot of concerns, and I just appreciate you coming out here and sharing it with us. And the other thing I just wanted to mention is I was able to attend the Memorial Day service on Memorial Day, and a little rainy, a little rough day, but we had it. And I want to thank Ronnie Jeffers and our veterans for putting on a very good Memorial Day service, and it was moving, and they had their boom that they had talked to us about in previous meetings, and it was not that bad at all. So again, it was great, and again, good support from our veterans. That's all.
Commissioner Palmer?
I'd like to start out by thanking you all for coming out and sharing your concerns of safety. And this has been on the top of my chart for months. Like somebody mentioned, I think it may have been Elizabeth Bratcher earlier about safety. One of you ladies brought that up. Chairman Powell and myself, we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about that. And I live 2 blocks east of here. It is scary, outright scary, for me to walk this street, because everywhere I look, there's pit bull dogs running loose. I'm ready for them now. I don't want to have to be. It's a shame that people don't keep their dogs locked up or pinned up or chained and cabled for the safety of our citizens. I've seen them running around in this playground area out here, where your chain link fencing encloses the picnic area. This is, I don't know why I didn't call animal control, but I didn't. Just the other night, I was coming around the building here. Here's a pit bull coming right at us, unrestrained. So those of you who know my past can, I believe, understand where I'm coming from. When I'm walking 2 blocks east, west, and I'm looking as far as I can to make sure that I don't run into a dog, a big dog, that will bite, that will kill, that will maul you. I'm sorry, but I'm quite upset with this situation. It's been ongoing for 7 years. Again, thank you all for coming. Please be patient with this pay study. I do feel that if it does not reach up to your expectations, that we can revisit and recalculate after the pay study has been implemented on July the 1st. That's my personal thought and feelings, and I think that the board would agree with that. I can't talk for them, speak for them, but I do believe they will. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Perrier?
No report.
Commissioner Thomas? No. All right. All right, then we need a motion to go into closed session number 1. Motion to enter into closed session per General Statute 143, 318, 11A4. And those permitted to attend would be Attorney Ellis Hampkins, Manager Kathy, Clerk to the Board Ms. Reeves, and Economic Development Director Brandy Lynch.
Chairman Fox.
Motion to go into closed session. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carried.